As you can see, the sink is in. It works really well. It's perfect. I love it. Now I'm going to show you what it took to get it in here. It wasn't too bad now that it's done, but you're going to see for yourself. Sorry for the delay. I took a little van trip. I went to the lake. Now I'm back, and here we go. In order to install the drain cup, you need some plumber's putty and a plumber's tool or a large wrench. Harken back to the days when you were a Play-Doh aficionado. Roll out the plumber's putty long enough that it will cover the circumference of the drain cup. The objective here is to cover the underside of the cup flange to act as a seal or a gasket in the sinkhole. Place the drain cup into the sinkhole and use the rings and rubber gaskets as instructed on the package. Use your wrench to tighten down on the retaining ring, just until the putty starts to squeeze out. Not too tight, but not too loose either. You're going to have to get a feel for that. Look at this. This is the sink top that I did my test cuts on, and then here's the cutout from the Korean countertop. I think I'm going to put these two things in the Humble Road Museum. Now I need to cut the old drain pipe and vent pipe. They've got to be rerouted into a new position for the new sink. Now it's time to drop that sink into the new hole and line it up with the new drain pipe. In order for that to happen, I have to first remove that plastic vent shroud on the back wall. I still don't know if that will give me enough room to slide the sink in. We shall see. Lo and behold, there is plenty of room in here. I might just use this newfound space for an extra closet. Now finally, the sink is sitting where it belongs, and it's a perfect fit. It's a tight fit. If this sink had so much as a label on the side, it would not have fit. Here's what the new trap and wiring looks like. Nice and clean, and pretty to look at. Now you're going to see what it took to get here. I got the idea to use a couple of rubber door stops to prevent the violent vibrations from undermining the pipe connection at the top of the gray tank under the van. Well, the idea was sound. The execution, not so good. I should have tapped them in deeper and tighter with a rubber mallet. The first pipe joints to be glued are the joints where positioning is not critical. Now there's no room for a traditional rigid PVC vent pipe connection, so I went with a flexible connection that, if crushed or squeezed a bit, would still allow the vent to perform as intended. Now before I can commit to a final glued pipe assembly, I have to know where my relocated wires want to sit. So off comes the plumber's hat and on goes the electrician's hat. When drilling the hole through the cabinet sidewall, I drill from both sides to prevent any splintering when that bit comes blasting through. I decided the new home for the electrical outlet that was mounted on the front side of the sink cabinet would be outside near my folding table with the medieval brackets. I located the right spot for the outlet to sit and drilled pilot holes. Then I went outside and cut the hole for the outlet using the devil saw. I will tame that beast. Peel back the outer insulation, then strip and expose a bit of bare wire on the ends of both the black and the white wires. The brass screw on the receptacle gets the black wire, and the silver or aluminum screw gets the white wire. The ground is almost always designated with green. I always like to bend a hook loop into the end of the wire, which I hook onto the receptacle screw. I pinch the hook closed with the pliers. This way, the wire will not slip off or out of its seat, causing a short whereby the van could burn to the ground. Maybe. Anyway, the hook should always enter the screw from the top left in the direction of tightening the screw. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. This causes the hook to tighten along with the screw head. Once that's done to all three wires, the black, the white, and the ground, I wrap a few turns of electrical tape around the receptacle to protect the leads. Gently bend the wires and push the receptacle and wires into the box. Now you're ready to put your faceplate on. Funny thing happened to me on this trip to the lake. I'm heading out, and I generally check the campgrounds along the way. Where am I going to stop? How long am I going to drive? I don't like to reserve them too soon, though, in case plans change. So I'm rolling. I make a call to the campground where I want to head for the night. They don't answer. I wait a while. I call back. They don't answer again. So I pull over. I check their website again. I check their Facebook page. Way down in the corner of the Facebook page it says, "We're closed for the season." Now what? No problem. I got my mighty AGM battery. I'm going to a truck stop. That's what I did. Not one of the big guys. I went to a little town truck stop. It was pretty decent, pretty busy. And I walked in, and there's a couple of big old boys behind the counter. So I went up and I said, "Is there anywhere a guy like me could park a camper van and sleep for the night?" And they said, "Absolutely. Right in the back. Go right around there. You'll be fine." I went around there. I parked and got all settled in, and it was nice. And then the rain came. All right now, plumber's hat back on. Dry fit the PVC drain pipes and mark their position. This needs to be somewhat precise. You have to then disassemble in order to glue it all up. 2 marks are better than 1 when assessing the alignment. Here's the final drain, trap, and vent assembly all glued up. See the soft, flexible vent hose? When I slide the sink down into this hole, it will crush that tube just slightly. That's the best result. If this was a rigid PVC pipe, it would have prevented the sink from passing at all. It's time to finish up my junction box. This is a pretty simple job. All the black wires together under one nut, and all the white wires together under another nut. The ground wires all get twisted together, and if you're using a metal box, loop and screw the ground wire to the box as well as attaching it to the receptacle. When working with existing wires, it's best to play around with them to see how far and where they want to go. I also knew not to position the junction box so low that if my new drain failed and flooded the cabinet, it wouldn't short out the wires and burn the van to the ground. Think the worst and hope for the best. There you go. Nice and neat and pleasant to look at. Before we drop in the sink, I scrape away any residual caulk from where the shroud sat. The caulk I'm using for the sink is not necessarily the best nor the strongest, but that's how I want it. Did you see what I went through to get the other sink out? I dropped the sink into the hole, helping it pass by the single switch wire remaining in the upper section of the cabinet. I just couldn't move that one, so it's got to squeeze by. Then I let a sandbag do the holding while I cleaned up the excess caulk around the perimeter. A combination of wet and dry towels gets this job done. The vent shroud gets reinstalled, and then it's time for the faucet. Look at this thing. Do you know what this will do for my cooking classes? The PEX water lines were joined directly to the base of the old faucet. Not the case with this new one. I have to cut the PEX tubing and install a special type of union. I decided to go with a product called Shark Bites. They literally just slide on until you hear a click, and voila, it's done. All right, back to these shark bites. You don't trust them, do you? Well, I've used them in the past. I never had a problem. I never had a failure. But considering I'm the kind of guy who wears a belt and suspenders, I decided some extra measures were in order. So, rather than simply replace the back wall of that cabinet box, I cut and installed a clear Lexan wall. That's right. Now I can watch those little buggers. I won't have to wonder or worry if they're leaking or even weeping. I can just take a look. I put a small bit of paper towel in the hole there, thinking if they ever did weep, the paper towel would wick it up and I would see it. I'll catch the problem before it rots out the floor of the van. Radio man, many, many blissful miles to you, my friend. I'll see you out on the road.